Try not to be scared. The fun continues tomorrow, Mr. Vizsla. The fun is just beginning for us here. Welcome and thank you for pressing play on this brand new episode. Wherever you are and however you are listening to this, we appreciate you. As always, my name is Juan, here with Mark
Mm.
and Kevin.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Why didn't we
Oh,
get applause?
I
Jeez.
guess that's what happens when Soundmaster.
And we like movies. Today, we are bringing you a movie that you may have never heard of, but which you may be adding to your queue after we are done. It is the 2019 film Polar, starring Mads Mikkelsen. Now, before I continue, I just want to make sure that if you are listening to this, you take a second to go and follow us on Twitter at We Like Movies _, as well as Instagram at at we_like_movies_podcast. And if you enjoy what you hear, please let us know and spread the love. Share, comment, like, follow, and subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode. We want to give a quick shout out to Beautiful D and Oriah Johnson, who shared some really kind words with us on Apple Podcasts, leaving us lovely reviews that made our day. Thank you so much. Back with the synopsis from IMDb, which tells us that Mads Mikkelsen plays an assassin named Victor Vizsla, aka the Black Kaiser, who is retiring, but suddenly finds himself on the receiving end of a hit, contracted by none other than his own employer, seeking to cash in on the pensions of aging employees. That description is only a morsel, a mere tasty lick of the delicious, juicy story that this film provides. Victor is 2 weeks from retiring on his 50th birthday. He moves to Montana to spend his retirement years living peacefully and quietly in his cabin in a small town with his salt of the earth neighbors. Meanwhile, his boss, Mr. Blute of the Damocles Company, has ordered a hit on Victor, attempting first to send a group of Mexican mercenaries at him before eventually sending his A team, a group of young, hip, psychotic assassins. They must first track him down and then kill him, a job easier said than done. Victor, meanwhile, has befriended his young female neighbor who is inadequately prepared for life on her own and seemingly severely traumatized. The two build a bond that is threatened when the young squad of killers discovers Victor's hideout and commence the hunt. They're unsuccessful, but end up kidnapping the neighbor, Camille, played by Vanessa Hudgens. Victor now finds himself a desperate man trying to save his young innocent friend. Polar was directed by Jonas Akerlund, who is known for directing mainly music videos and concert films for artists like Beyonce, Coldplay, The Rolling Stones, Taylor Swift, Metallica, Britney Spears, and more. But he has previously directed a feature film called Lords of Chaos. Polar is based off of the 2013 graphic novel by Victor Santos titled Polar Came from the Cold. The screenplay was written by Jason Rothwell. The film was released on January 25th, 2019. It was produced by Constantine Film and Dark Horse Entertainment. It can be streamed on Netflix and has a runtime of 1 hour and 58 minutes and is rated TVMA. The tagline is, "If the job doesn't kill you, retirement will." The film also has an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, while the cheeky audience has given it a 69%. So these cheeks couldn't be further apart.
Mm.
This was my pick, and I am just patting myself on the back because this was a brilliant find. What a
The
movie.
perfect 6'9".
I can't wait to get into this because I have so many great things to say about this film. It was fantastic. The film has been on my queue on Netflix for a while. Um, Mads already stars in one of our highest rated films, which is Another Round. And so in that episode, Mark had mentioned how big of a fan he is of his. And that made me realize that he's really never let me down either. He is consistently great. And reading the description of this, and then having the opportunity to see him as an older, retiring assassin, it was just too intriguing to pass up. I was nervous because other reviews about the film are very rough and harsh. I already mentioned the Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics, so I was just hoping that this wasn't going to be a feces fest. But man, did this deliver. I loved it. I can't wait to get into it. Kevin, what were your thoughts?
Currently, my thoughts are this is the problem with going after Juan when he likes a movie, and I have to give my opinion on it because Juan, you said that you told the audience maybe they've missed out on this movie, and I was like, man, they're so lucky. Run, don't walk away from this movie. I thought it was a convoluted plot, gratuitous sex scenes, lazy movie storytelling, and the two main actors deserve so much better because they did a great job. Um, it had some pretty scenes in it, but overall, like it was just I didn't like it. I thought it was poor movie making, not by the actors but by the director. And people, you might be happy to know that the end sets up a sequel, but God knows why. Maybe it could be called bipolar. I don't know.
Oh, that's so good.
But like that's the best I could come up with. But literally, I was watching this movie and I was into it in the beginning, and then as it progressed, we just had a bad guy who sat there and laid out the plot, and then we would have other stuff that would just pop up, and I was like, okay, that's kind of a stretch, but it just kept adding more and more to it. I thought Mads was great. I thought Vanessa Hudgens was good. Like I said, I wasn't a fan of this movie, and yeah, that's me. What about you, Mark?
You're out of
I
your mind. Let me just say that.
Hey, it's Mark's turn to talk.
I think it's a nice I'm a nice blend of you both. I did love some parts of this movie, but I also didn't like some parts of this movie. I agree. When it comes to sex and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't need it in my movies, and that was just like this is I couldn't watch this again. Like if my wife was around or if my kids are around, you know, you take out that scene, and I could at least watch with my wife, but no, obviously not my son. Maybe not. Well, who cares? Like, show him teach him about movies and their magic. But yeah, I mean, that was just really upsetting that happened, and I do like the outcome of that scene. It was a great scene, but it's just I felt like we could have done without that. The story is kind of all over the place, and the villain is just overall annoying, and I felt like it was trying to do too much when we really just needed more, Mads doing his thing. I didn't mind this, the relationship that Vizsla and Camille had, but it kind of felt too like Leon the professional-ish, and I felt like that movie's done it so well that we don't really need to see that anymore. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. I'm about middle of the pack with you guys.
Okay, so I guess since both of you guys brought it up, we can. I was going to address this later, but we can address the sex scene. I too feel the same way, and that is the only knock that I have on the film. It wasn't a perfect film. There were some things that, yeah, I did think could have been better. Although I will argue that those things were done intentionally.
Hmm.
Um, Now, as I thought about it, because again, it bothered me too because I just don't like seeing it, and there's enough porn in the world. We don't need to see it in
Yeah.
in in these movies.
Yeah.
It's just. And so as I was thinking about it, it does fit the story, and it actually plays out, into how this character of that female, whose her name is Cindy, spelled Sin.
Hmm.
um that was part of how she would get to the point of being able to assassinate these guys.
But she couldn't
um
have a brawn.
Oh yeah, but like the point is, even in the beginning with Johnny Knoxville, she was being sexual with him, but they weren't gratuitous about it.
no, I understand, and
So,
I'm not defending it.
but this
I'm
guy took her all over the room, on the table, against the window. I'm like,
Hey, listen, Mads looked like he was enjoying shooting that, but
You're gonna need another take, guys.
so sorry,
But Mads, that was perfect. No, no, no.
he
I feel
needed a
like I
couple
could do
minutes between
better.
takes.
Step
what
on
I'm
set real
saying is
quick.
that I guess ultimately I still knocked at points, but for me it was out of personal preference. Like, I can see why that's in this day and age, that's appealing to some, and maybe that's part of the logic for wanting to put it in there, or maybe they felt it was such a strong part of the story. Whatever the reasoning was, ultimately I'm not going to argue against it. It just, for me, personal preference of, like, I could have done without it, and
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need it.
No, it's not a huge knock, but it is a small one.
Yeah.
Because I think it could have easily been different any other way. So
Well, and I think, again, part of what both of you, so things that bothered me were, yeah, the bad guy, I don't know, he could have been just a lot better, a different actor, a different persona,
I feel
everything
like
of
if he was a more like quiet and calculated character, because his whole staff around him is crazy, but the fact that everyone was crazy, it's tough for me to like follow that. It's like, yo, you can't have this many crazy people in the room and you're as successful as you are.
right, that I too also found that hard to kind of swallow, even though it seemed inherited, that from his dad, who
Right,
was
right.
probably the real mastermind,
Yeah.
and so, um, but so again, to that, because another thing that bothered me, aside from the villain, Mr. Blue, um, which is awfully close to the villain in Popeye, isn't it? Isn't that Bluto,
Bluto. Yeah.
Mr. Blue? Um, but the other thing was that team. And at the beginning, it was a real turnoff for me. Like, that whole a team, the elite, like the best of the best, um, starting off with the opening scene, which, again, I did not have a good feeling about the movie from the opening scene. For one, it's like the ridiculous, and childish and silly, like, erection joke of Johnny Knoxville being murdered while he still has an erection, was cheesy, to say the least. But then also the fact that, okay, I guess Johnny Knoxville used to be one of the assassins, right, on the same team with Victor.
Yeah, that's what they made it seem like.
But he didn't. I mean, there was nothing about him, though, that really seemed threatening. Even in that situation, he was crazily, like, compromised. He was doing drugs. He was in the middle of, in this fancy mansion by the pool, hooking up with this hot girl. Like, you had to send the entire team to take this one guy out. Like, you couldn't just send the sniper.
Well, I guess I see what you're saying.
See, I think the problem was, like, again, we barely get introduced to him, so we have no. I thought he was a drug lord or something at the beginning.
Yeah.
Till they said that he was an assassin, but like it's a problem they have with him. And oh man, who was the guy who did the cameo as the guy?
Oh, Richard Dreyfuss.
Richard Dreyfuss. Right, we get introduced to him, and then he does that betrayal. I'm like, I don't care. I've rarely met this guy. Why is it going to impact? Like, they were just introducing people, and like things would happen, but they would have no impact because we had no idea about any of these people.
Yeah.
Well, I really felt like, because if you watch the movie, like there's a very stark contrast going right down the middle, which is the chaos and the lunacy and just the madhouse that is everything that has to do with the villains. And then you switch over to, the calm, quiet, serene, peaceful, sort of, subdued strength and violence of everything with Mads, so I think that everything they were definitely playing, ultimately with the contrast of making, the bad guys super campy and chaotic and then switching over to him.
Yeah.
And there's so many contrasts there, right, between their youth and his age and wisdom and experience, and the way that he goes about things and why he's the best, and how calculated he is, and everything for in the beginning, even when they even show us like him even just getting a prostate exam, so again showing you like how actually day to day kind of boring, the things that he's going through are, as opposed to, these young guys. So not only I think are they really emphasizing this contrast, which once I picked up on it, I was like, oh, it was annoying at first, but once I kind of picked up on it, I was able to like appreciate and enjoy it. But then the other thing is I haven't read the graphic novel, and I it feels to me like some of it is trying to either be loyal to the source material or just maintain the essence of just how over the top and extreme you can make things in a graphic novel, and sort of trying to preserve that in the film and give you all of that in this experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that could be it. I just think it's hard. It's also probably hard to pull off. Like those assassins all had like their own personalities, but I mean, it felt like we were supposed to kind of care about them and be, intimidated by them, but it just there was too much going on their side. And then when we get to Mads, it's all, like you said, quiet warrior. It was a little a little jarring. It was tough to stay in line with that.
Yeah, they definitely, like you mentioned their personalities, like except for the one guy, like the I kind of like the guy that played the assassin, especially because he was like more serious and just like intense.
Yeah.
His name was Facundo. But like the Asian girl that was kind of like the leader, and then the crazy guy, like I didn't really like any of them.
Yeah.
But again, like once I picked up on the contrast, it did sort of build a little bit of anticipation for me for like when finally these two worlds were going to collide.
Yeah.
And so that kind of had me at that point. I was kind of looking forward to it, because I was like, all right, when are they going to meet? And for me, this was like brilliant directing. When they find him and that whole thing happens, it's like exactly halfway through the movie. Like
Yeah.
I paused it and it was like almost exactly the halfway point, and I
Yeah.
was like, wow, that's awesome. And then like I alluded to at the beginning, like I was glad that fight scene, and he did away with them pretty quickly,
Hmm.
because now he's naked in the snow, the girl's kidnapped, and I'm like, all right, where is this going now, had a whole nother half of the movie that, for me, man, from that point on it just went to another level, bro. When we'll get to talk about that torture scene, and then that scene in the hallway, like in the corridor, like it was so good, man.
You,
This
you do
movie.
like when they show you the torture.
Yes, yes. I said finally we got a movie
More torture.
that promised. It promised gore or action or blood, and this one delivered. And I said that torture scene, that's what we should have gotten with the card counter.
Yeah, I want of viewing this. I want you to present it, and then I want the option of continuing to watch or look away in disgust. I don't need you to tell me, hey, you don't deserve, you don't need to see this. This is bad.
And bro, and actually, it's when it got to the it was supposed to be 4 days, I think, of torture.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I really the villain then started to win me over. He wasn't just silly, right? Now he was really cruel and sadistic, and especially the way that he ended each day with like the fun continues tomorrow, Mr. Vizsla. It was like, man, that's such a freaking cruel to say. And like, and even just thinking like, oh my gosh, I got a whole nother day of this. And oh man, it was impactful. I liked it.
You know, one thing about these movies that I always sit and chuckle about, you see this guy getting stabbed and shot and beat up, and I always laugh. I'm like, man, when does he eat? At what point does he eat? And in this case, what does he eat? Is he like, yo, I'm starving. I need to go to McDonald's real quick, or is he just like, yo, I'm looking through the trash can. I'm so hungry. I don't care what I eat, or But it's funny to watch him continually go through everything he's going through, and you don't see this character eat a drink. I know, that's not how it works in the movies, but I always resort to that for some reason. It makes me chuckle. I'm like, man, this guy's got the endurance of I don't even know what. This
Yeah.
is not human.
Yeah, no, I agree. And but I did
That
like
makes
that.
me feel more badass.
I mean, you did see him, and I thought about, in a way, I've thought about that too. And so I did appreciate that afterward. Like, you see him exhausted, you see him barely, keeping it together, and then having to take time off basically after he escaped the place where he was being tortured to like rest and heal up,
Yeah, yeah,
before continuing.
yeah. You don't see that too often.
Kevin, what did you think about the torture scene?
Like I said, like it was done. I think it was it was done, but I think Mad sold it very well. I think he gave power to those scenes. The villain himself just came off to me more like, okay, this is a part where you just sit there and you torture the bad guy and he's gonna break loose. And like I said, I wasn't a fan of the guy who played the villain or the villain the way it was written. It was a nice line. He's like, yeah, the continues tomorrow, but you're like, all right, this is just basic.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for Mads to escape because we knew he was going to, and that was it. Like I said, I do think Mads, again, it's not a knock on him. His acting was great in it. He gave power to that torture scene by just the way he was reacting and stuff. But like I said, overall, like aside from him, I just wasn't a fan of what was going on there either.
Kevin, what did your girls think of the torture scene?
Um, Luckily, like I was going to watch this movie with them, but I was like, let me watch it first because it looked John Wickish with the smoking aces,
Yeah,
and I'm glad when
it
that
was
sex scene popped
neither.
I was like, nope, they are never watching this movie. I think they caught the end fight and they were like, ooh, can we watch this? I'm like, never, babies, never.
When you're 21.
Oh man, when I'm in the ground, you can come watch this movie.
So all
Noted.
right. Mark, I have a couple questions for you. Well, one's a question, one is just a remark. I
All
hear,
right.
Ooh, I like the pun.
I, I hear your thoughts about the similarities between the professional. Was it the professional?
Yeah,
Leon the professional.
Yeah, Leon the professional.
put
But
some
this was
respect on his name.
but this was different because the
It
girl,
was.
as we find out, is not the innocent, helpless bystander that she projected herself to be. I
Right.
thought, I mean, did you guys? I know, I know. Sometimes we pick up things at different times. Did you guys see that coming? Uh, I was a little surprised by the twist. I loved it, and I thought it was well done.
I was surprised by it. I enjoyed it, but I mean, I guess maybe I did expect it. Uh, no, I didn't have like to think of it that way. I don't think I was surprised by it, but because I was already thinking, oh, I see what they're trying to do
Right.
here, and that's cool. Like it's been done, and then they try to do this little twist. But I mean, in Leon, Matilda ended up not being, quiet after all.
Like my reaction was just like, "Oh, of course she is." That's literally what I thought in my head. I was watching. I was like, "Oh,"
Lazy.
I was like, "Of course she is."
It was good, man. It was good.
No,
Um,
it was good, but I wasn't surprised by it.
well, and then like, I mean, the scene then after she reveals herself to him, and she's pointing the gun at his head 2 feet away from him, and he completely gets it. Like he completely understands. Like, and he's like, "Yo, you deserve your revenge, actually, and I deserve what's coming to me, and I'm gonna walk you through it. Like go ahead, do it, pull the trigger, breathe. You know, dude,
Yeah,
like that was so powerful."
it was.
It was good.
And aided and assisted by their incredible acting. So this was my question to you, Mark, was, Mads, he actually, as far as the characters that he's portrayed, has been pretty diverse. um have you seen him in this light before, and what did you think of him as an assassin? Was it believable? Did you like his take on it? What are your views on that?
Well, I think his character was just a little too much. When you have, characters that can like literally do everything, like John Wick. I've always been surprised that there's so many John Wick movies. It's like, but what's gonna happen. He's done it every single movie. Um, but again, not again, but I understand it because you're watching a movie. It's point A to point B, and that path from point A to point B is awesome because he's just doing that gun fu.
Yeah.
Um, so for this one, it kind of felt the same. Like I know what he's trying to do and where he's going, but I feel like there was just too many things happening on his trip from A to B, and I could have been like I would have been okay if that little minor twist at the end didn't happen, and she just ended up really being who she was. Um, I I don't. I don't know. Like for me, I don't always need. Like I feel like I'm the dum dum of the group because I don't need twists and turns. I don't need to grab myself and go what. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So he's got to go kill him. All right, let's do it. And I'm like, I'm all about watching that happen. Um, so when a twist like that pops up, I'm just like, oh, all right. I mean, okay. You didn't really allude to it, but sure, and there's really no shock value when it happens. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm not explaining it well, what I'm thinking. Um,
It was the novelty of it was kind of lost on you.
yeah, all right, that I could see that. Kevin
It's
chuckling.
it kind of, as you were speaking, it kind of reminded, like, yeah, I think there's very, for individuals, and there are many people like us who are huge film fans.
Hmm.
I think for you get to a point where it's got to be something really unexpected to like really surprise you, because you've seen it all.
Yeah,
We've seen it all, and every once in a while something comes along, and if you don't have it spoiled for you before you watch the film, it can really, really kind of, be so surprising that it's kind of like shocking, and you're just like, wow, I never saw that coming. But that rarely happens.
yeah,
Usually at this point you kind of expect everything to happen, or there's trails, or so you're not too shocked by
yeah,
something happening. But for me, then it's how much does it add to the story? How entertaining is it? How well done is it? Because sometimes it's just not well done at all. With
yeah. I'm like
this,
wondering why. Why did you
yeah,
just do that?
Yeah, and so with this, I appreciated how it was done, how it was incorporated into the story, and in that way, you know. So,
Good.
um, yeah. Um, Want to give a quick shout out to. I really liked the scene again with the doctor when he's getting his prostate exam. I thought it was really funny, actually.
Yeah, you got to
The
give
doctor
a
was
shout
really
out to
funny.
all those doctors out there shoving fingers up.
Well, this actually taught me something because he said not about prostate, about he said that the first year of retirement is the most dangerous for men because things that put them at risk.
Yeah,
Like try a new
you get,
thing or whatever.
you get bored
Yeah.
very quickly.
But then this doctor also baked pie, which was awesome. Um,
Do you want a pie from a man who just put his hand up your butt?
I do.
Hey
That's what I
man,
was thinking.
he's wearing gloves. He's wearing
It's a
gloves.
it's a consolation prize. Um, hey,
All
listen.
checks out. Here's your pie.
So Mads is a handsome man, a rugged, handsome man, and he really pulled off that mustache and the hair. But once I saw him with that eye patch, that's when he really won me over.
Oh, I was gonna say what sold it was a damn eye patch, bro.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Mustache, nah, I don't care. Hair, don't care. Eye patch, bro. I want to walk around with an eye patch now.
Dude, and I don't think I've ever felt sadder for a character in a film than the son of that prostitute who,
Evelina.
dude,
Oh,
not only did he walk in on, this guy banging his mom, but then then the next thing he sees is this fat Mexican guy getting nailed to a wall. This kid's gonna be in counseling for a long time.
It's very easy to become a parent, but it's very hard to be a mother.
listen. Maybe in the next movie, the mom dies and he raises his kid up to be the next assassin.
No, that's there you go. That's Polar 2. It's Evelina's son. He's looking for Mad.
Bipolar.
You killed that Mexican. That was my dad.
Dude, all right, I'm gonna get to something that I thought was really awesome. But before that, I really liked little so yeah, let me ask you, Mark,
Yeah.
how did you feel when he got drunk and accidentally shot that dog that he had just adopted?
I honestly, like, real talk, I feel like that was a jab at like John Wick. Like, nah, we ain't doing this dog
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
Bang
Yeah.
bang.
You know what? You might be right because there's so many similarities.
Yeah, because like the story of John Wick is at this point it's just
Yeah,
absolutely insane. Like
yeah,
I haven't seen the third one, but from what I remember with the first and second, like there was just more getting piled on top of more.
yeah,
But still, like you're watching a stylized like movie of
yeah,
this guy's killing people beautifully. So this movie essentially was the same thing. You have a story of this guy, getting his revenge, and so when the dog popped up, no lie, immediately I was like, "Oh man, they're going to go to the John Wick route," and then that happened, and I died laughing because I wasn't expecting.
dude. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly what they were doing.
So they were just poking
That's
a little fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That hadn't even occurred to me. I think you're right on the money.
I don't know. We got to ask the director.
Yeah. No, that's great. But I felt like that, and then when he like did the little birthday party for himself and like put up the decorations and stuff, like I thought it was great. And I thought that it uh kind of it was an insight into this character because he seemed so serious, but then it also seemed like he's really looking forward to this solitude of retirement, and he's like making the most of it. But it also, I just felt like they were like having a lot of fun with the movie, like
Yeah.
like making the movie and providing these little details and these little things that were like really entertaining and amusing. But dude, like talk about twists, right? Guys appreciated this like I did. I appreciated this. But they mention at the beginning of the movie when he's getting his prostate exam, what
Uh-huh.
is one thing about him that the doctor asks him about outside of his prostate and cigarettes? There's something else that the doctor asks him. Do you remember?
No, I know what you're talking about though. I remember that scene. I don't remember what he said though. I don't remember what he
Yeah, I
asked.
don't remember that at all.
The plates, the metal plates that he had,
Ah,
Oh,
which
that's
is
right. Yeah.
which is bro, when he's cut open, he freaking digs them out to pick the locks. Like, dude, that was incredible, bro. Like, I was like, wow, that that throwaway line, that little detail from there. And this man freaking, I thought that was amazing. Such a cool detail.
No, that was yeah. I didn't put the two together, but I remember that scene. I was like, oh man, I would just give up. I can't pull those out of me. Well, this is it. You finally got me.
How
I
about
I feel like I tend to do that in movies. I always put myself in the situation like, yeah, no, I would be doing that.
um, dude, when he goes to the school to do the show and tell?
Bro, I was gonna mention that. When he lays out all his weapons really nice. He starts showing the pictures.
It was great, man. And then he was convinced that he did such a good job.
my,
Just a man in retirement.
if there
Those
were
kids,
any of my kids, they would have loved that show and tell.
Probably.
dude, it was hilarious. And then I also like when he at the end when he shows up at Blute's mansion,
Mhm.
and he's got these guards around him, and as soon as they see him on the monitor, they just run out. And then as they're running out, they're like, "Oh, excuse us," like when they're in his way, like trying to get around. I thought that was hilarious.
That was pretty funny. That was pretty good. Now that the Oscars have passed, I feel like everything, everywhere, all at once, is has like perfected the genre of a crazy movie because I feel like Polar was crazy, but it was just too crazy.
Hmm.
It was too crazy. There's just too much going on, and oh, that was pretty cool. Why the hell is that happening? Oh, that's pretty cool. Why is that happening? That's pretty cool. Oh man, that's weird. That's pretty cool. Like that. That's how it kept going.
Yeah,
And that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, that kind of like everything was crazy, but I don't know. It
Everything
fit.
was pushing the story forward.
Right. It wasn't crazy just to be crazy's sake.
yeah. There the experience, I loved it, and I loved like the craziness because to me it like it made sense, right? And I appreciated this movie for what it was. For me, like you said, John Wick, and there's these other The Professional, other movies that are kind of in this genre or along these lines, but I felt like this one, which is not an easy thing to do, sort of like carved its own sort of path.
Hmm.
In So I really enjoyed it. But and the experience of watching it for me, like I had so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. I appreciated so much. I thought it was so well done. The experience of it for me was not unlike. I've had similar experiences with movies where like I'm not expecting a lot, and then it's kind of crazy, kind of over the top, but like I enjoy it so much. Another one was Spring Breakers.
Oh yeah, I've
And
seen that.
dude, I love that movie. And like I went to see it at the theaters, I think just because I'm a James Franco fan,
Hmm.
and was like halfway through, I just remember, bro, laughing so hard because it was so ridiculous, but it was so good and so funny. Like when they're singing that Britney Spears song by the pool on the piano. I
Yeah.
just never seen anything like that, bro. And I was like dying laughing, but it was so good. And then
Vanessa
Another,
Hudgens is that too, isn't she?
yeah,
Yeah.
And then another one was one that I actually saw with Kevin. I don't know if he'll remember this, but the movie Running Scared with Paul Walker.
Hey, we saw that with Israel after his
Yeah,
car accident. Yeah.
that was another one that like that was like I wasn't expecting much, but and I think there was an element of like child porn or whatever, which is why I've never watched it again, or like molestation or something weird was
Yeah.
going on, which is why I've never watched it again. But outside of that, like I remember it was a great movie. And this experience was like that, and man, I really enjoyed it. Um, if you
Man, now
can't
you got
tell,
me. Now you got me thinking about Running Scared. I haven't seen that in forever.
It was really good.
yeah,
It was. It was. I remember being surprised. I don't. After Fast and Furious, I don't think I ever would take Paul Walker as a serious actor, but that was pretty good.
yeah.
That was
Uh,
pretty good.
Well, and then just for our listeners, along the crime genre, I would recommend Spring Breakers, Running Scared. I would also recommend Layer Cake and Sexy Beast. Great movies. Have you guys ever seen Sexy Beast?
I.
That's a no from me.
That's a title that you say yes, but I don't remember what it's about.
Is it like the Sea Beast?
Not at all. Not at
Okay.
all. It's Winston, I think is his name, British actor.
Oh, the
Uh,
black guy from
Definitely.
Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
No.
wrong Winston.
I thought that was Ernie Hudson or
Yeah,
Ray
that's
Hudson.
his character's name is Winston. That's it.
Oh, okay. Um,
Oh no, you're talking about a movie.
no, a movie called Sexy Beast. It's a British movie.
Came out in 2000.
Yeah, it's with what's the other guy too? The guy that played Gandhi,
Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley. Yeah,
And
that's
Ian
it.
McShane.
No,
Ian McShane.
Yeah,
definitely didn't.
That's a great movie. Um,
I seen
so
this movie poster though.
oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. When I used to work at Blockbuster, it seems very familiar.
Well, I will say Spring Breakers has one of the few nudity scenes that I'm okay with. At the end, when they go to Gucci Mane's house and all those black girls are naked.
Yeah, and they shoot that whole place up.
That's another scene. I'm like, who takes a shower like this? Why are there 17 people in here all taking a shower together? Like, what is this? What's happening?
Yeah, that movie was awesome. I
Yeah,
own that
it was
on Blu-ray.
that was definitely a movie I did not expect to wait, or I did not expect it to go the way it did. But
All
anyways,
right, you guys got anything else on Polar that you want to mention?
My favorite shot was that severed head flying out like it was Cloverfield, and just landed right before the camera.
I really did like that scene where he was naked in the woods. Like the whole sex scene beforehand, I was just like, man, like just put some clothes on her just a little bit more. Like I know what two people having sex look like. Like I don't need to see any boobies to know that they're having sex. So it's just unfortunate because afterwards when he goes into the forest, like I feel like that really sets up like who he is as an assassin.
Yeah,
Like, yo, I'll be butt ass naked and I'm gonna still do my job, do my work.
yeah, yeah. No, I felt like that, and even that opening kind of his first assassination with the
Yeah.
Mexican guys, like it was just so smooth, man. That really gave me an idea of like, oh, all right, this guy is a professional. Like he's not here wasting any bullets, bro.
Yeah. You know what's funny with that scene when they showed the kid? I actually was like, "Oh wait, that kid's gonna come back later and try and kill him." So like
Mm,
I already had that thought in my
yeah,
head because I
yeah,
remember that because they pinpointed on that kid. I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's coming back." So
yeah,
there is a chance I could see that happening for Polar too. Like you see, because now you're introducing introducing the whatever Mexican cartel or whatever they're a part of, whatever gang they're in. Now
yeah.
you're introducing that trying to get him,
Hmm.
He killed like a bigwig or something.
I got you. Um, yeah, I don't remember that that severed head. Whose severed head was that?
Oh wait, he cuts the bad guy's head off, Mr. Blue, whatever, and it goes flying out the window and
Oh yeah. Okay,
looking like the
yes,
Statue of Liberty from Cloverfield.
that's right. Yeah, he with a sword, right? He
Correct.
sliced him with like a samurai sword.
Correctamundo.
Also, the lady who worked the counter at that little convenience store was pretty funny, and her conversations with the townspeople. She was just gossiping the whole time.
Townsfolk.
The townsfolk. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything more to add, I have a few fun facts.
That was not the right. I hit the wrong button.
Oh my gosh. We got the creepy laugh instead.
Fun fact. One.
Yeah.
He's really trying to redeem himself now.
There was a lot of tension in that moment. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
I hit the wrong button. It was right next to it. I was like, ooh.
Okay. So just got a few for you. Hopefully you'll like them. The first one is that Deadmau5 did the soundtrack for the film, and the opening scene with Johnny Knoxville is at Deadmau5's house.
In Colombia?
All right. All right.
He owns. Do we know that was in Colombia?
It said it was in Colombia. In the movie wise, it was in Colombia, wasn't it?
Oh, come on, man! You can just type Colombia of trees.
Oh no,
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
in Chile. It was in Chile. It was in Chile. That's what it was.
Okay.
I don't think it's really in Chile, but maybe.
No, but movie plot wise, it was in Chile. I don't know where the mansion is.
As a real and true Colombian, if it would have said Colombia, I would have remembered.
You would have known where that house was. Oh, I walked by that house. Yeah, you're right. That's in Colombia.
To correct Kevin from something he said previously, there is a film coming. It's called The Black Kaiser. It's also directed by Jonas Akerlund, with Mads Mikkelsen reprising his role as Duncan Visla. But it is speculated that it will be neither a sequel nor a prequel.
Well, to correct one, it's not speculated. They said it's not a sequel or a prequel.
But why did you say that it was a sequel then, sir?
No, I said bipolar.
Yeah, you said it was a sequel going to be.
No, at the end it's set up for a sequel that, oh, I'm going to teach you how to get revenge, or let's go after some people. I said it sets it up for a sequel that should be called bipolar.
But you used the word sequel, and they're trying to tell you it's not a sequel.
Well, yeah, I didn't know about Black Kaiser until I read it during this podcast. so I didn't.
I think we all knew something was coming.
Unfortunately.
Okay. And last but not least,
for the record, it wouldn't be a sequel or a prequel because that would be too simple. They have to convolute it, and it's just going to be another story. So there you
go. Whatever it is, bro, they can have my money. I will be there to watch it.
Other one.
Last one is that, probably this one's not a huge surprise, but Mads did a lot of his own stunts.
Man, the guy still got it. That's crazy.
Yeah, he sure does.
It surprised me not at all because he's that good.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So those were fun facts.
Those were very fun.
Thanks, man. I tried.
I enjoyed those.
So now we will move into our ratings phase. Since this was my pick, I get to go first. Again,
wait, we don't have any ratings music.
Did we ever have ratings music?
Oh, I don't. Why don't we have? You should have ratings music.
I am jotting that down for the next episode.
Oh, all right. Ratings music. Additions. Yeah, I feel like when he segues into ratings,
we should. You are correct.
See what I'm saying? Anyways, continue. Sorry.
He's gonna find us a nice little ditty.
I hope so.
So yeah, my ratings, again, we rate on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and we call it our Little Jerry's ratings. So as you guys heard throughout the episode, I really enjoyed this movie. I can see why you guys and maybe most of the critics didn't. I think you're wrong, but it is a personal opinion at the end of the day. Like I said, maybe I just have a thing for kind of movies that, for me at least, do something new, or something that I haven't seen before. That's how I felt about Spring Breakers and some of these. And so, while this one, it takes a little bit to sort of kind of catch up and understand dynamics that are at play. At least that's how it was for me. I really enjoyed it. I loved it, actually. And I only knock it points, like the guys said, for the gratuitous sex scenes, which I just think are unnecessary in a world where so many struggle with porn addiction, both men and women, and it is just so easily accessible, even through social media apps. Why put it, in movies? It's just, I think we're beyond that point. So wasn't ideal for me, that one aspect of it. So, for me, it's a 4.75 out of 5.
4.75. All right, Kevin, what you got?
I'm shocked at the 4.75 out of 5. But
I am shocked and appalled, sir.
so the best part of this movie is that it's behind me, and I don't need to see it again for this
Oh
podcast.
my gosh.
This movie is the definition of mid, and that is being gracious. We've mentioned a whole bunch of other movies that you should see instead of it: Layer Cake, Leon the Professional, even Smoking Aces, whatever you want to watch. Do yourself a favor. You don't have to watch this unless you just want to watch his performance, but you've been warned. It's not a good movie. Because of the performance, I won't give it a 1, but it is a 2, and that's what I'm giving it, a 2.
Dang, you couldn't even do a 3 for the boobies?
No, bro, couldn't even though it's gratuitous. Like, she was pretty, at least, but it's just not.
Kevin's one with the critics. I, on the other hand, am a man of the people.
Yeah. So well then I follow you, sir, man of the people. I
Yeah.
give this 4 little Jerry's.
Yeah.
The knocks are small, but it's enough to keep it out of the 5 stars or 5 little Jerry status. But 4 is respectable. I feel like 4 is still respectable. It is enjoyable to watch. It is.
Yeah.
I want to say, I mean, it's a straight up popcorn flick. They want to have a story there that keeps you engaged, but at the end of the day, you can kind of just watch this while you're playing video games on your phone, and you'll still enjoy it. You don't really need to come for the story or the boobies. The action alone was fantastic. So for me, like I don't really care. Like I don't need an amazing story. You show me something I haven't seen before, and I'm cool with it. And a lot of the action scenes were things I haven't seen before. And I got to see Mad Mikkelsen walking around the forest naked. That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
um, yeah, and I mean, if nothing else, if you don't want to watch the sex scene, which I don't blame you, if you don't think that this movie is going to be worth your time, whatever, I disagree. But at the very least, look up that torture scene. I would recommend, and also that corridor scene, that hallway scene, whatever it was. Man, that was awesome. For me, that was up there with. I mean, me personally, just me, but I like the Polar better than John Wick, because John Wick is just so straightforward. It's just one guy, on path, and not really much else happens outside of that. This one had some twists and turns, and some highs and lows. With the action and the build up and the resolution and everything, and even at the end. But yeah, at least look up that scene, Polar corridor, hallway, whatever that was. It's worth the price of admission, and he's doing it all barefoot after being tortured, John McClane style from Die Hard.
Our listeners turning on Polar. Oh boy, I'm here for the torture. I've never heard someone recommending a movie by going, bro, just go to the torture scene, man. You'll see what I mean, bro.
Quentin Tarantino would. Dude, I've been listening to his podcast, and there was something that he said that if you didn't know what he was referring to, because he just loves genre movies and these crazy things.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how much he loves the subgenre of rape films, like movie.
Hearing that right there, I'm like, what the?
I know, but he's talking
Millimeter.
about exploitation films where the main character is raped and then the rest of the movie is her revenge. Right, so that's the subgenre. So you have to know all that, because if you just hear him say "Oh, I love rape movies,"
I love rape movies.
It's so weird, but yeah, so it's kind of like that. I mean, this was a great torture scene.
I wonder, could I look that up on Netflix? Rape genre?
Sorry,
rape subgenre.
Your FBI pulling up.
That is your road to travel. If you want to,
I'm gonna have the FBI knocking on my door. Sir, we're gonna talk about all the things you've been looking for. They're all subgenres. Calm down, guys.
They gotta talk to your wife about your search history.
Yeah.
Don't bring her into this. I don't want her to know.
All right. Well, that sounds just about as good as any moment to probably close this episode out.
Fair enough.
We don't mean to offend, but if we do, suck it up, Buttercup.
At least we do with a capital O.
Whatever that means.
Well, you know what it means.
Love you.
All right.
Later.
Till next time. Later, haters.